I'm here with the legend himself, guys. Dan Bilzerian, man. Thank you, man, so much for coming on. Appreciate that greatly, inviting us to your lovely home. For you guys that are unaware, we did an interview with him last year. It was fucking awesome. But Dan, for those that live under a rock, can you please introduce yourself to the people?
Well, I guess I got well known in 2013 for kind of just putting my lifestyle out there, you know, and so it was kind of a social experiment that went really fucking haywire.
And we were talking about social media earlier about how things have like changed so much where it's like on one end it's great because you're able to build your own platform without needing Hollywood or the music industry or whatever, but on the other end, you know, we got a lot of people that are morons that are getting famous off of just being idiots, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think the upside is that it gives people a voice.
Yeah.
I think the downside is that people will just kind of do whatever they can do to get that voice, and so you get a lot of, I don't know, man, I see these like prank videos, just people just acting like jackasses, like stuff that should get you fucking your ass beat, like back in our day, is like what these guys are doing on a daily basis, and they're getting away with it, and it's kind of like influencing the culture to be fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of just get famous by whatever means necessary.
Mm-hmm. So you blew up because you had these really cool videos of you like just living the lifestyle and the dream that most guys wish they could have. We're talking yachts, mansions, shooting guns, hot girls, you know, driving fast cars. What made you say, you know what, man, I'm gonna get on Instagram, show people my lifestyle, and let them know what's out there and what's possible?
So it started as like a social experiment. I mean, it was basically like, let's see what we can fucking do with this. Like I had made a bunch of money and I wanted to do the bucket list shit. And yeah, we just captured it and it kind of just went off the fucking rails. I mean, it was one of those things where it started off as like, you know, people fucking started knowing who I was. And then it was all of a sudden like every corner of the earth, like people were fucking asking for photos, and it was just, yeah, just spiraled out of control.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on Instagram for a while and you have a huge following now. It's like, what, 33 million or something like that?
Yeah, 32 something.
Yeah. So, and obviously you've been going on for a while. What would you say is like helped you grow so quickly on Instagram?
I think I was just being unapologetic back when nobody else was doing that. I was like the first person to really like push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have a boss and when you don't give a fuck what anybody says, and you kind of like, you know, you're also doing a lot of hedonistic stuff, which is what I was doing at the time. I mean, I think it appeals to people. It's kind of like, I don't know, everybody's fucking like dream life, or so they would think, you know, all the pleasure spikes. And yeah, documented it, did it for a fucking long time, and now I'm kind of, you know, just over it.
You're over it? Like, when did you kind of say, man, this shit's annoying? Like, I'm tired of the, you know, this whole fame thing and girls and boats and everything else like that. What made you say, you know what, man, this is getting old. I'm gonna...
Well, I got burnt out in 2016. Then I got a girlfriend for a year, and then we kind of went back into it for Ignite. And I think towards the end of Ignite, like 2019-ish, or end of like Ignite pre-COVID, I just felt like I was a fucking sign spinning monkey, you know? I was like a rat on a fucking treadmill. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt like I had to keep doing this stuff for the brand and whatever, but I was kind of over it. Like I just done everything. And with Ignite, we kind of like came back and did everything like on a fucking way higher level. Mm-hmm. And that was cool, but I just, like I said, man, I got over it. You know, I was like just doing the same shit all the time, and you can only fuck. I mean, I had a bad sex addiction. You know, it's just fucking girls 3-4 times a day, every day. It's like.
Can you tell us about, like, because you know you've talked about that in your book. Can you tell us like how that came to be and then how you got over it?
The sex addiction?
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. It's just like I mean, pleasure seeking is like dopamine spikes, right? And dopamine's addictive, so. You want to feel good. It makes you feel good. It's kind of something that I think gets ingrained from a perceived lack. And I think when I was younger, I had a perceived lack of girls. And so, yeah, I just fucking went way the other direction.
Yeah. Now, you've been doing it for a while, and actually you just launched a program, Sigma Society, and you kind of give guys like the blueprint on, you know, how to be attractive, how to get girls. And we've had discussions on this as well. But I think this is something that's definitely needed, especially in today's like dating marketplace. What would you say is like some of the biggest mistakes that guys make when it comes to like getting girls and maintaining that attraction?
Well, it's twofold. There's like what mistakes they do going into interactions, and then there's the mistakes that they make in the relationships. And I think both things were frustrating for me. I was watching my friends in these relationships where they had just lost all their power, and they're just getting bitched around or like kissing ass to a girl that's way fucking beneath them. And then I see a lot of guys getting blown out in the initial interaction because they go in and they just massively over-communicate interest. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake that guys make. And that's kind of what they're told. That's what Hollywood tells them. That's like kind of the accepted thing is to go up to a girl, give her a bunch of compliments. And the problem with that is it puts her in a position of like, okay, I know I can have this guy. Do I want him? And when you're looking at something through that lens, all the flaws magnify and it just makes a thing less appealing. And I think guys, they just make that mistake and they don't know any better.
Yeah, and I was able to look at like some of your stuff, which thank you for the access to some of it. And you're real big on like telling guys like, hey, to overcome the anxiety, you want to kind of approach it from an indirect perspective. Would you say anxiety and fear of rejection is like most guys' biggest issue when it comes to talking to women?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. And I think when you go in and take more of an indirect approach where you're not over communicating interest, you don't set yourself up for rejection, right? Like if you go in and tell a girl how beautiful she is, or you ask her out on a date, or you ask her for a number, it's kind of like a binary response. She either has to accept or reject, and usually women's default setting is to reject. So I think that,
even if they like you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, they're just used to it, and then they expect the guy to chase, and then eventually they'll, whatever, but they keep the guy chasing, and that's what these books, like The Rules and all these, books that these women have, it teaches them to do is to keep the guy chasing. And that just puts them in a massive position of power because their flaws disappear and that guy's flaws magnify. And I just don't want to see guys in that position because it's unnecessary. Like you can go in, you can open the interaction, you can start talking to a girl without letting her know. Like it's like playing poker. These guys just like want to fucking flip their cards over. It's like a lot harder to fucking win in poker when nobody can see your fucking cards.
You mentioned something that's very interesting about the rules and girls reading books. I think this is something that needs to be talked about more. Like guys don't understand that like women actually like read books and practice this crap. Like they don't like a lot of guys go in clueless, but like girls, number one, they already deal with men all the time. And then number two, a lot of them talk to each other about this very thing. And there's books on it. Like, can you talk about that a little bit? Like how educated women really are when it comes to like finessing men, dating them, extracting value without necessarily giving value back?
Yeah, I mean, to give the poker analogy again, it's like, women are playing poker and they're just seeing everybody's cards. Well, you get better at poker if you knew everybody's fucking card and you saw every time somebody's bluff. You know what I mean? You just learn faster. And I feel like that's what happens to women. Like from the time they're like 13, 14 years old, like all these guys are hitting on them, communicating interest, letting them know like, hey, I want to sleep with you. And when they do that, then it's like, okay, they correlate all these things the guys do with a guy wanting to sleep with them. So they're just more socially calibrated. And the way I would, explain it for a guy is it's like the guy just goes in the gym, sees a heavy bag and starts hitting the heavy bag. Well, if you hit a heavy bag for 10,000 hours, you're not going to be a fucking great boxer. But if you get some fucking coaching and some training and you spend fucking 100 hours, you're going to be better than that guy that spent 10,000 hours just drilling in all the fucking bad techniques and all the wrong shit. I think that's what guys do is like, and it's good to have volume. Like it's good to just get out there and fucking do this stuff. But if you don't do it correctly, you're just, your chances of success are going to fucking go down dramatically. And that's true of anything. Fucking golf, I just don't understand why guys will take fucking direction with golf and fucking badminton or ping pong or whatever the fuck ever, chess. They get coaching for everything other than the most important thing that they're fucking doing, which is, choosing their fucking lifelong partner or the girl that they're dating or whoever you're spending the most time with. And that's going to be your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, or somebody you have kids with and now you're stuck with them, whether you like it or not, for the next 18 fucking years. That's like a pretty important thing. And I feel like guys just assume like, oh, like I got this or I know what the fuck to do. And they just don't.
Yeah, they don't. And it's even worse because like you mentioned all those hours. Like if you mentioned like practice all these hours with bad technique, it's going to like set in and it's way harder to unlearn a bad habit than to learn a new one.
Yeah, like taking a guy that's never done any fucking boxing and just teaching them proper technique from the start is easier than like having them unlearn all the mistakes that they've been making. So, well, I think a guy that goes out and just, has a bunch of experience is going to be better off than a guy that doesn't do anything. I'm just saying, like, there's a version where you can learn the right thing to do and then put in fucking time and get there a lot faster. I'm all about, like, doing the least amount of effort and getting the most amount of volume in the shortest period of time possible. And it's like, I want them to have as many positive interactions as possible because that's going to give them more confidence. More confidence yields better results. It's kind of like a snowball that can go in one direction or it can go the fucking other.
Yeah.
And most guys, it goes the fucking wrong direction and then they just, convince themselves I'm not good looking, enough for women or women don't like me or whatever. And they're right, but the difference is like they can do something about that. And I think that's one thing that guys don't understand is like women can't really make themselves that much better looking. Like, they can do a little bit of stuff, but they're born ugly, they're kind of fucked. If a guy's born ugly, he's still, like...
You can make up in other ways.
He's good.
Yeah, this
like,
is true.
Elon's not good looking. Like,
Yeah.
you know, fucking, you know, Seth Rogen's fucking ugly. Like, there's plenty of ugly guys that get a ton of pussy.
Yep.
And, you know, there's just, like, there's 12 different attraction triggers that you can fucking implement. And, like, you know, pre-selection is one that a lot of guys don't understand. That's one that I use, like... You know,
one of the best.
Yeah,
you're one of the best guys when it comes to pre-selection by far.
Buddy, I could go into a club with 2 or 3 girls that really wanted to fuck me, that I had been fucking, that were all over me, and just literally like point at other girls. They didn't even know who the fuck I was, but because hot girls were interested in me, and obviously that's not like a, you know, easily transferable one to other guys, but there's different versions of that. Like, you know, I mean, you can elicit jealousy pretty fucking easily just on your story, just making girls think about you. Like, let's say you're at a fucking bar and you take a picture of a martini glass and your beer. You know, girls are going to wonder, like, oh, who is he with? You know what I mean? Like, and that's a pretty easy thing to do. So you don't have to have 3 girls lining up to fuck you to implement pre-selection and jealousy and a lot of things that are, like, really powerful for getting a girl to want to sleep with you.
You know, and it's interesting because not many people talk about this. You know, I mean, obviously, guys like yourself, me, we talk about this, but, like, you know, conventional dating coaches are like, just be a nice guy, take her out, blah, blah, blah. And I think nowadays, if you're not like willing to talk about these uncomfortable realities when it comes to female nature, like you're just not going to get ahead. And pre-selection is, I would argue, one of the best and strongest triggers, and it's social proof. You can't fake that.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And you got a lot of these, like, you know, male dating coaches or guys giving advice that are like super good looking guys that have never had any fucking problems, that, you know, like stuff that works for them is not going to work for the average guy. And then you have women teaching this stuff, and it's like the women are the worst.
It's comical, man.
Yeah, because they can't even tell you what they want. Like, if you ask most women like what they want in a guy, and then you look at the last 5 or 10 guys they fuck, they have like almost none of these things.
Yeah.
So like they don't even know what they want. It's not really about what they say that they want, it's what they respond to that I focus on. And so, look, I had a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I screwed it up with, and a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I also fucked. And until you have that control group, which most guys don't have, until you have that volume, you can't really run an experiment and figure out like what works and what doesn't work. And I look at, you know, dating kind of like poker. In the beginning, like, you know, everybody had theory and a lot of guys thought this was the right thing, and, you know, there's a lot of guys that agreed. Like, you know, after like 10 years, like all the best players agreed this, and this was right. And they had the supercomputers and the quants that just like figured this shit out, and then we realized like how wrong we were about certain things that we were sure of. And I think dating is similar. Like, I think there's a lot of like really bad accepted advice out there that's just dead wrong that a lot of people think is right.
Yeah. And you know, you spent quite a bit of time, well, obviously from like dealing with women throughout your lifetime, but you also spend a lot of time like compiling data for this specific program. I remember me and you talking about it almost like 2 years ago. Like, you've been working on this for a while.
Well, so, it was harder than I thought, you know?
Take us through that.
Well, just because a guy can box doesn't mean he can teach somebody how to fucking box, right? And so, like, I had to actually like break down like what would work for other guys, why things worked for me, why things didn't work for me. The big thing was figuring out the mistakes. Like, we just need to start there. Like, if guys just wouldn't make 10 of the most common mistakes, like, they would have 99% better fucking results. So, like, you know, stop making the mistakes. And also, like, small tweaks will have a massive downstream impact on, like, your success or your failure. And so a lot of this isn't necessary. In fact, you know, it's not necessarily like putting in more effort. In fact, a lot of times it's putting in less effort to get a better result. Because a lot of guys correlate this with like business, where it's like, I put in a bunch of effort, I get a promotion, I show up at fucking 3 a.m. and change my buddy's tire, I have his back in a fight, like he's gonna be a better friend, like all this stuff, which is true. But all that effort that you put into a girl before you fucked her actually cuts against you.
I agree with, bro. I've always told guys, it's like, putting a bunch of sweat equity and time into a girl a lot of the times is actually one of the few endeavors where it's counterproductive.
It's 100% counterproductive.
Yeah.
Like, almost unequivocally. I mean, this is not like in a long-term relationship, right? Like, this is before you fuck the girl.
Yeah.
The more effort that you put in absolutely will cut against you.
Yeah.
And people just like don't value what they can have very easily. And if you're fucking chasing after a girl, if you're putting in a ton of effort, you are in that category of somebody that she can fucking have. She knows that she can have you with very little effort because you're the one putting in the effort. 2 people can't fucking chase. Only 1 person can chase. And so in the relationship, somebody's always pursuing. And, you know, I just fucking don't want the guy chasing after the girl so hard that she can never chase after him.
You mentioned something really interesting in one of your videos when I was watching, where when guys are chasing, they're almost like in tunnel vision. And when they're in this tunnel vision, they're not necessarily looking at like their mistakes. They're so focused on pursuing the girl and like getting laid that they're not even looking at the behaviors that they're demonstrating to chase after the girl. Can you talk about that in a little bit more detail? Why that tunnel vision is so bad?
It puts them in a bad frame. And this is the frame that most guys go into it from, is like, this girl's hot, how do I get her? And what that frame is this girl's looks are enough. I'm gonna do whatever I can do to get this girl just based on the fact that she's hot. And most girls do not value the things that they didn't have to work for. She didn't have to work for the fact that she's hot, right? So a hot girl sees a guy pursuing her, and automatically, like anybody pursuing you, anybody that's working hard to get your, attention or respect or whatever, is by default beneath you. Like, you're not trying to fucking impress the janitor.
Yeah.
You're not trying to impress somebody that you don't feel like is better than you.
Yep.
So just by framing the interaction like that, and especially early in the interaction, when these guys go up and over-communicate interest before the girl has earned it in any way, shape, or form based on like who she is, and it's just based on her looks, automatically she's going to look at this guy as like, okay, he's not very discerning, he doesn't have a lot of options, like me being cute is enough, I can have him, do I want him? And that's not the fucking spot that I want these guys going in, especially with hot girls. Because like the hotter the girl, the more motherfuckers that are pursuing her. And when you've got 10 options,
and they're ruthless too.
Yeah, when you got 10
can't
options,
make as many mistakes with a hot chick as you could with like a mid or an ugly girl. Like you make one stupid mistake with a hot girl and you're done.
Yeah, because like think of a dating show. If you have fucking 10, 20 options, like you're not gonna go for the first fucking one. You're gonna sit back and be like, okay, I know I can have all 20 of these. Which one do I want? And that's usually the position that a hot girl's in.
Yeah.
And what I want the guy to do is get the girl in a position of like, oh, maybe I might lose this guy. This guy has other options. Other women want him. I want to compete. Just think about like an auction. Like your mentality in an auction is very different than when a traveling salesman shows up at your fucking doorstep and tries to sell
analogy.
you, whatever the fuck he wants to sell you.
Analogy.
Like when somebody tries to sell you, you're looking at what's wrong with the fucking thing. Let's say a business deal, all your buddies are getting into a business deal and there's like, the fucking thing is closing and like, you just want to get in. Like, how do I get in? And that's the way you want a woman looking at you is like, I don't want to lose this guy. He's got other women pursuing him, not like, and another thing that guys do is they over communicate, their availability. They tell the girl, they over assure the girl, like, you're the only girl that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
They do that all the time.
Stupid
It's
as
like,
fuck.
Yeah, just because like that's what they want to hear, but that's not what's going to be effective with the girl. And so a lot of these guys like think like, okay, if this is what I would want to hear, that's what the girl would want to hear. And you're not in the same fucking position as a hot girl. Unless you're like a super fucking famous celebrity, and even then your mindset's different because the girl wants to like date a guy, the guy wants to fuck the girl. Like, don't try and think like, oh, just because if for me, it'll be true for her. That's just fucking wrong.
That's such a great point. You sitting there and saying like you're the only girl I'm talking to is like not the same as her saying that to you. Like it's her job to not be a slut. It's your job to be attractive, and if you're a slut by definition, whatever, who cares, right? As a guy.
It's just a very different thing. It's like the whole lock and key analogy, right? Like the fucking key that opens a bunch of locks is a good key. The fucking lock that gets open by all the keys is a shitty lock, right? So like because women have the choice, it's a very different thing. Like, if a girl's, been fucked by 100 guys, it fucking massively lowers her value. Yep. If a guy's had sex with 100 girls, it means that he's desirable, he's confident, he's probably decent in bed. Like it says a lot of good things.
He's done something right.
It says a lot of good things, right? Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things where you just have to understand the difference in psychology between a woman and a man, and like this whole culture is pushed like everything is equal, men and women are the same. It's just like, and that fucks up guys' mentality. Like they kill masculinity. They're like doing all these things, which I think is another reason why men are having such a fucking bad time in the dating market, is because they're being programmed with all the shit that's like counter to the fucking truth, which is like masculinity's bad, like women want the super nice guy,
equal partners.
It's just all bullshit.
Stupid shit.
It's just all bullshit. That's why like the fucking girl is not always dating the fucking nice guy. There's like a line full of them at every fucking Walmart that are invisible to women. Like they don't want what they say that they want. They want the guy that's like, interesting, that they might not be able to get, the guy that's, going to be exciting. Like that's the things that girls go after. Like, and you see it in some movies. You see it in like the bullshit rom-coms where they're just like, put the gay guy in there and like shows up with the flowers and the fucking chocolates and gets the girl, which is just like absolute nonsense. But then sometimes there's more accurate depictions where like the girl ends up falling for the bad boy. And if you look at like the qualities that the bad boy has, that's something that's attractive to most women. So that's like one thing that Hollywood got right. But like most guys don't ever try and like, take on those qualities. They take on the qualities of like the main character, the fucking super nice guy that ends up with the girl. But that's just like, that's not how the real world works.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how popular media, movies, television, etc., Like, they're just basically telling guys, yeah, be cucks and you'll get girls. And it's like, no, dude, that's not how it works. It's crazy to me how counterproductive mainstream media is with, like, telling guys how to actually be attractive. Because what it takes to be actually be attractive shows, like, unflattering realities about women that people don't want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it in the dating market, right? Like, back 50 years ago, like, the average guy got an average girl and everything was decent. And, like, it's like, you know, the same thing with wealth. Like, all these things have just been so polarized. Now it's like 5% of guys get all the girls, and the rest of the guys have, like, fucking no shot.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt like I should do this, because I felt like there were so many guys just, like, quitting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, what made you, like, want to do this?
You know, there's a guy I was, like, playing video games with, kind of fucking nerdy dude, didn't get a lot of pussy, like, didn't work out, like, all this shit, and I just kind of, like, took him under my wing and, like, got him on HRT, got him in the fucking gym, like, got him to stop smoking weed, and now he's, you know, got a girlfriend, and she's fucking pregnant, and he stopped smoking weed, he's working out all the time, like, his entire life fucking changed.
Off you just giving him some tips.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that much, you know, just to, like, kind of, like, point him in the right direction, like, stop him from doing the same fucking mistakes that all these other guys make.
I know you mentioned this guy last time we spoke.
Yeah.
Cool, so you guys are still talking.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he just got a girl pregnant. And he's like in a serious relationship. He's happy. Yeah, it's crazy. So.
And you're like, you know what? I need to scale this out and help more guys.
Well, I just felt like nobody was giving them the right information.
Yeah.
There was just so much bad information.
There's a lot, dude.
You know, it's like you fucking get a bad map.
Because they censor you when you give this good information out. They'll say you're a misogynist. They'll ban you off TikTok. Me and you were talking about TikTok earlier.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's a part of it, but I also feel like there's not a lot of guys that have figured this out. Like, you really have to, like, go out there and just, like, you know, figure out what works and what doesn't work. And the only way to do that is to have a big sample size. And I feel like a lot of these, like, male dating coaches, like, they have a lot of theory and, like, stuff sounds good, but, like, these guys don't get a lot of pussy.
Facts.
You know,
they're not
like,
outside.
They're not. Like, you know, you have to fuck, like, hundreds or thousands of girls to figure this shit out, you know? It's kind of like one of these things where, since there is no fucking roadmap, there is no, like, established, like, right directions and wrong directions, everybody kind of like starts from fucking zero. Well, actually, now they don't start from zero. Back in our day, we started from fucking zero. Like, now they start fucking, you know, from like a -50.
Yeah.
Because, like, they've been programmed with all this bad shit. So they have to, like, unlearn all the bad shit. And then, only then are they starting off at fucking baseline, coupled with the fact that women expect way more now. Like, they have these, like, crazy fucking delusions of what they deserve or what's, like, you know, what's an average guy? Like,
yeah.
Just like what they think is normal or average is so fucking skewed.
When I ask girls, how much money do you think an average guy makes on our show? Almost every time, $100,000 a year. Fucking crazy, bro. Like, the average guy is only making like 30 to 50K depending on where they live. But like the average girl thinks the average guy is making $100,000 per year, which lets you know like a lot of these chicks like expect a lot off rip.
Yeah, and the problem is they go out there and they fuck all these 5% guys, and then they end up just like settling for some rich guy that's going to take care of them. And the rich guy thinks like he got this great girl, and the girl's like just with him so he'll pay her fucking bills because she feels like she can't get one of these 5% guys to actually date her. So it's just like automatically that interaction sucks. And one of the things that I tell guys, like, you want to make a girl want to fuck you. There's girls that want to fuck guys, there's girls that want to date guys, and there's a combination, right? And I want guys in the bucket of, like, the girl wants to date me and she also wants to fuck me.
Yep.
Or just that she wants to fuck me and then you can make her want to date you.
There you go. Yep.
But, like, the category that you absolutely don't want to be in is the category of, like, she wants to date me but she doesn't want to fuck me.
Yeah.
Because those are the guys that get taken advantage of.
Absolutely. And that's, guys, this is important shit, man. And I'm glad that we're, like, rehashing this because you have to like drill this in a guy's head like so many times because right now there's somebody watching that probably doesn't get sex from his girlfriend or his wife or his fiance. Like she stopped fucking him and he's just letting her like, I'm still gonna marry her. It's like, no, dude, like you're literally setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest manipulation tactic ever. If a girl's ever just like, you know, using her pussy or blowjobs or something as like a tool to get what she wants, like you're already in a fucking horrendous position. And I think a lot of guys don't realize like how they get in this position. It's like small little battles lost. You know, it's like there's this fucking war for power going on, and small victories and small fucking defeats add up. And these guys, you know, they'll just cave or they'll be like, oh, you know, happy wife, happy life. Like, let me just appease the wife. And it's like they appease them into the point where like the girl loses respect for the guy and then cheats on him. And the guy just gets blindsided, has no idea where it came from. And I see that a lot. Where these women, they just like subconsciously like lose, you know, respect for the guys over time. And then the guy is just so surprised when she cheats on him. He's like, but I was such a good boyfriend and I never cheated on her. I always told the truth and I was there for her and I did this and I did that. And it's just like, when you make too many sacrifices for a woman, they become expected and not appreciated. And a lot of guys end up in this category where they're just making more and more sacrifices, trying to win the girl's approval, and that's just actually subconsciously driving her away because she's never having to invest in the guy. She's never having to like do anything for the guy. So it just puts her in a constant state of like, okay, I know I can have this guy. Do I want him? And then she's looking for other options versus like when she's wondering, what's this guy doing? How do I get him to stop talking to this other girl? Like, I want to make him, mine. Like, I don't want him talking to other girls. Like all this stuff that makes her want to work for the guy. And the more you work for something, the more you value it. And I think a lot of guys are in these relationships where the woman isn't working for the guy at all. Yeah. And when you're in that spot, like I said, you don't really value things you don't work for.
Would you say that's the number one reason why women cheat? Because obviously a lot of girls have like cheated on their boyfriends with you, and you found out after the fact. Like, would you say that's like one of the top reasons why girls cheat?
I mean, it always starts with he was so nice, but. So I would say.
Fucking terrible.
I would say being bored. I think a lot of women get bored in a relationship. A lot of women like know that the guy's never going anywhere, that he doesn't really have any other options. Like he's completely invested. Not that that's like a bad thing, is that, to be dedicated to a woman, but be dedicated to a woman because you like her, not because you don't have other options.
Yeah.
You're
choosing her versus you're just settling what you can.
Settling, yeah, exactly, for the low-hanging fruit. And I think a lot of guys end up in that spot. And if you're not willing to fucking walk, you're never going to have power. And I think a lot of these guys are not willing to walk.
Yeah, that's very true. So you've been compiling data for this program for almost 2 years. What are some of the things, like one of the most shocking data points that you've realized from compiling? I know you got like Excel sheets, split tests that you ran, etc. What are some of the craziest data points that you would say you found out?
I mean, there's so many, but I think the most important overarching thing was just the difference in pursuing versus being pursued. And I know that sounds very basic, but it's twofold. Like I said, when you're pursuing a girl, your flaws magnify and her flaws disappear. When she's chasing you, your flaws disappear and her flaws magnify. So I think a lot of these guys get focused on like looks maxing and all this stuff, but they forget about the fact that they're not aware of the fact that when a woman is chasing them, their flaws are gone. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really matter that they're not that tall, or they're not that rich, they're not this, or they're not that. Yeah. And I've seen it on the flip side where, like, my buddy, he was, 6'1", worth $500 million. We'd had fucking orgies together. He's fucked tons of chicks. Like, he's smart. He's good. All these things, like everything the guys think they need. But because he was over pursuing girls, he'd run them right the fuck off. Shit. So, like, I know for a fact that, you could have all the stuff that guys think that you need and still have bad results if you do the wrong thing. And I think that you don't need a lot of those attraction triggers if you do the right thing to have good results. And I saw that, in college. There was guys that were like, broke, fat, ugly, whatever, and they were fucking a lot of chicks, but they were doing the right things.
Yeah. Would you say, if you pursue, I mean, if you can quantify it, that'd be awesome if you can. But like, would you say that when you pursue a girl, your chances of getting her are actually like what, 50% less, or would you be fair to say maybe like got like double the chance of closing the deal if she's chasing you? Like, well, how significant of a difference do you think it makes?
It's super significant, but it's not just on closing. It's then like the entire relationship going forward. Okay. Like how much she invests in you, how much she chases you, is gonna fucking lay the foundation of the relationship. Yeah. Like if a girl's chased you for a while, like she's going to value you more, subconsciously and consciously. Like it's unavoidable. Thing. Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you fucking spent 7 years saving up for a Ferrari, you're gonna value it a lot more than if you just were fucking handed it to, on your 16th birthday. Like you're gonna be happy both times, but like that happiness is gonna fade a lot faster as a 16-year-old that never had to work for it versus if you've been working for this thing your whole fucking life. And so obviously that's an extreme example, but if a woman has been, putting in effort and chasing a guy, when she finally ends up with that guy, she's going to really value him. She's not going to want to lose him, and she's going to be way less likely to cheat on him. She's more likely to want to please him, want to make him happy, and then just the whole relationship is better. Yeah. Versus when the guy pursues, and then the girl decides like, okay, I can't do better. Like I'll take this guy. You know what I mean? It's kind of like we'll settle for this, as opposed to like getting what you want.
And I love the analogy you gave where, if you're a door-to-door salesman and they come to you, you're looking at it like, okay, what's the issue with this product? They're coming to me. Yeah. Versus if you're bidding on something and there's a bunch of other people bidding, like you're willing to go, well, 1,000, well, I'll do 2,000, well, I'll do 3,000, well, I'll do 3,500. And you don't even know if the product is going to be as good, but you just want to go ahead and win and beat these other people out. And I think that speaks to female nature as far as them being competitive, want to beat other girls out. So your flaws aren't highlighted like if you're selling it to her with like a door-to-door salesman, which is a great analogy.
Yeah, and I figured that out. And like I said, it sounds simple.
Because women look to disqualify.
Yeah.
Like I've always said that. Like when you meet a girl, she's looking to like find a reason to not fuck with you.
Yeah.
So that's like a perfect analogy. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it sounds simple, but it has such a fucking profound impact. And like, you know, there's 7 different ways to trigger a girl to chase you.
I was going to ask you that next.
So
the
like,
7 things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about a couple of them, like pre-selection, jealousies, things like that. But it's, you know, it's just very, very fucking important because the framing of this, and that's why I say like indirect a lot of times is better than direct approach. And a lot of guys think like direct approach is just, you know, the way to do it and whatever. But they really put themselves at a disadvantage.
You got to know what you're doing to be direct. I'll be like, I like direct, but I see why indirect is good for guys that have anxiety or they're nervous or like, you know what I mean? It's kind of, it allows them to at least talk to the girl. Because so many guys puss out like, oh, yeah, and they don't do it. So indirect is a great way to kind of get in there, get the interactions, get the reps up without like putting your balls on the line.
Yeah, I mean, direct, you just have to like have more attraction built. So the better looking you are, the more effective that's going to be. The more confident you are, the more effective that's going to be. And also you have to like, you know, you have to tease it a little bit too. Like you can't just pour on, you know, you can be direct and then you can, you know, fuck with it a little bit, push, pull. Like it's a little bit more finesse. Whereas indirect, you kind of like get in there, you're having a conversation, you don't have the chance of being rejected, so you're just more relaxed. She's also wondering a little bit like, you know, is this guy interested in me? You get to, you know, introduce jealousy along the way. Like you get to build attraction a little bit slower and it's more at your pace. I mean, direct is good for saving time, like I said, like
facts.
But at the same time, you know, you have to have some attraction built and you have to be more confident and you have to be okay with being rejected more often.
Yeah. You talk a lot about like logistics and the setup, which I think is fucking so important that people don't talk about. Like, you know, they're just like, yeah, just go here and do this and it's going to work every single time. But I don't think enough people put emphasis on logistics and social proof and how important that is in like setting things up for wins. What's your take on that?
I mean, I think it's super important. I mean, if you set, you know, like anything in life, you set yourself up for success, you set yourself up for failure. And if you're, you know, if you're trying to get laid and you're going out, you know, boating or whatever, and you invite 10 girls and there's, you know, a few guys and there's 10 girls, they're just going to be competing for your attention a lot more than if it's 10 guys and 2 girls and all the guys are fucking hitting on the girls and they get, you know, plenty of attention and all these guys are, you know, indicating their interest. And it's just like, I've seen both situations. So you can just like set yourself up to have a lot, you know, higher chance of success, or you can set yourself up to, you know, have a fucking high chance of failure. And I think there's a lot of other examples other than just the ratios, but that's one that's pretty fucking obvious.
Ratio is so important, man. Like, I don't think enough people understand. I remember when I used to like go to clubs or do any type of night game, if I walked in and the ratio was fucked up, I would just leave. Because it's like, a lot of times, if the ratio isn't good, like the girls are already going to have a highlighted ego, like based on that particular sexual marketplace. So it's like, you're going in kind of with the chips down, right? Especially if you don't have a section or whatever, and it just goes to show how important it is to meet the girl under certain pretenses. Because like, for us, like we meet a hot girl in the grocery store, we don't give a shit, she's hot, right? Yeah. But like for girls, it's like, they want to have like almost a story of how they met you and like have a cool like, how do I say it? Like a cool backstory of how they met you. They want that romantic meeting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to like cheat the system too. Like if you've got a girl that is in the friend zone for you or whatever that you fucked it up with, just, you know, go out with her. You're with a hot girl. Nobody knows if you're fucking her or not. You know what I mean? Like, and just the fact that you're with a hot girl makes you, you know, safer, makes you kind of vouch for, like, all these things. So there's ways to kind of cheat the system if you're not getting a lot of pussy. And, you know, and then if you have a lot of money, too, I mean, you could hire a girl. My buddy, I got him what I call the biographer. I, like, had him hire this girl that I knew, and I, like, trained her on what to do. And so her job when they went out was basically to, like, go up to hot girls, start a conversation. The girl would be like, oh, you know, who are you here with? Oh, I'm here with my friend, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then she starts like bragging about the guy, like talking him up. And the girl's like, oh, cool. Like, you know, are you dating? And she's like, oh, you know, like he won't sleep with me. And, you know, but I think he's fucking awesome. And it's basically like she's communicating all this value for this fucking guy. You know, so like when he finally wanders in, like this girl's like, who the fuck is this guy that like is not willing to sleep with this super fucking hot girl that's like trying to sleep with him? It's just like she subcommunicates so much value that that guy like almost can't fuck up the interaction, right? So there's kind of like what you say, which is what most guys do. They like brag about themselves, like talk about all this shit, which indirectly makes you chase, right? Because like, who are you going to brag to? Somebody you want to impress. Yeah. Versus like seen or told by somebody else, just like way more powerful. Like
especially a female.
100%, because they're just used to guys trying to fucking impress them all the time.
So if a girl does it and she's attractive, and I don't think guys understand like how much women bank on like social proof. Like me and you, right? We're out, right? And you see a hot girl or I see a hot girl. Like, I don't need to go to you and be like, hey, Dan, you think she's hot? Like, I'll just go to talk to her. Like, I don't need, like, my buddy's approval to find a girl attractive. But, like, for women, it's weird. They do. So it's like, she goes and talks to a guy. She might like him, but she's still going to console with her friends. Like, hey, I met this guy. What do you guys think? And if the girls say no, even though she liked you, she might change her mind. So it's like, they kind of almost lack independent thinking when it comes to what they find attractive. What they find.
And there's a way to hijack that thought process, which is you're already out with a cute girl. You know what I mean? Then it's like you're already vouched for. There's already a hot girl that finds you attractive that's with you, right? So now she doesn't have to ask her friends because there's already somebody that like social proofs you. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Obviously, like, you know, those are a little bit more difficult for the average guy, but there's like tons of things. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I just want to kind of like give them a blueprint of like the mistakes, the fucking right things to do, and, you know, just like a download of everything that I've learned in the last like 20-something years. All the shit that I wish that I knew when I was younger. Like, I wish that Hugh Hefner would have like fucking broken it down. You know what I mean? Like, it would save me so much fucking time and effort. You know?
So I'm transitioning real quick to politics, man. We were having a discussion upstairs about this. Obviously, it's an election year, so we got to talk about this. We got, as the time of this recording, we got Trump in, Kamala, the DNC pretty much, I think, is just wrapped up. What are your thoughts in general about what's going on in the political scene?
I think it's a fucking disaster.
First, they try and cancel you.
It's not that they necessarily want to throw you under the bus. They're just so self-interested that the benefit to them will outweigh any damage it will do to you.
Then they put you in jail.
The worst thing this government can legally do to me is just put me back where they took me out from. I'm not nervous about that anymore. Most people will know this is a setup.
And if that doesn't work, they kill you.
I don't even get massages because I'm paranoid of being assassinated.
Tristan Tay, welcome to the Jack Neal podcast.
Glad to be here.
Hopefully it never gets to that point, but do you think they would kill you or just Andrew?
Oh, it would definitely be both of us. Because the problem is, any influence he has would immediately be passed on to me the moment he died. You know, I don't like to dive too much into my various legal problems, but they've really shown their hand. And they've really shown the fact that they're definitely trying to just persecute both of us. Because it seems every crime Andrew's committed, I've committed the same crime in the same country at the same time. Oh, did Andrew evade taxes in England 9 years ago? No. Andrew and Tristan both did. We worked different jobs back then. But we're both implicated in this. So every single attack comes on both of us. Every single attack. Next time they charge Andrew with something, they'll charge me with exactly the same crime. I mean, I left America when I was 8 years old. Who knows? Maybe I sexually assaulted someone when I was 7. Good. If they find that and drag that up, Andrew would have coincidentally done something at exactly the same time. It's always both of us. And we always travel together, so we make a slightly easier target, minus my armed security who follow us everywhere. So yeah, they definitely try and get both of us. Because there's no point. There's no point in trying to shut one of us up unless you get the other one.
Tristan, you've made a profound impact on many people, including myself.
Thank you.
Your mission, the way you carry yourself, have deeply influenced my beliefs and many others. With that in mind, I'd like to explore what truly matters to you when it comes to your mission and how it differs from your brother's, if it does.
Sure.
Can you elaborate on what your mission is and why it's important to you?
My mission is to prevent the erosion of the culture of humanity that built the world. When I'm a history nerd myself, when I look at the attitudes and the mindsets of all the people who've built the modern world, every single great idea was established by a great man. And all of these people had a very similar way of working and a very similar mindset, irrespective of where in the world they were born and the time period they were born. I think that New Think, as me and Andrew brand it, is a new way of doing things. It's a new untested way of trying to run the culture of the world. And what have we accomplished? How old are you?
23, yeah.
Greatest accomplishment, human accomplishment in your lifetime. Go. Tell me one.
Greatest accomplishment?
Human. Any human accomplishment. Greatest one. Because it seems that we've stopped doing good things, doesn't it? I mean, in my opinion, first man to climb Mount Everest, men who landed on the moon. There were various human accomplishments, whether you buy it or not, that were made, that humans strive for, and anybody could tell you from the older generations during their time period what the greatest things humanity did was. It seems now we're stuck in a rut where nothing great is happening. Culture's just slowly getting eroded. Currency is getting eroded. There's a new war every once in a while. New people die. New scandals happen. But nothing is actually being accomplished or being done. So I don't think that new think has proven itself to be a viable way of progressing the global culture. So I'm just trying to take that back a little bit. If I was a man living in 1931, nobody would think anything about my views was crazy or wild, or any other point in human history. Nobody would call my views wild or crazy. It's only today. So if today was overwhelmingly more successful than all the various times in the past, of course we have more up-to-date technology, but that's true in every single time period. If today was overwhelmingly better, the quality of life was better, people were better, I'd have to take a step back and analyze myself and think, am I wrong to be stuck in the past? But it seems the future doesn't have anything great for anyone to even look forward to.
Do you think AI is a great human achievement?
I mean, it's as of right now, it's a very complicated thing that's developed, and technology keeps getting better. But I don't think AI is very useful to the common man who can't afford his groceries, whose children are being stabbed to death on the streets of London. I don't think AI is a great saving grace that's going to help us all unless you use it to bring in a totalitarian form of tyranny on everybody. You know, it would be a very scary police force if it was in charge of the world's security. It would be terrifying. But is that what we want? Technology is so good that we can submit humans into behaving in an amicable and respectable way by fear? You know, what's AI done? It's made some cool photos. There's a photo of me and Elon Musk riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But is that really that useful right now? The implications of AI in the future are going to be extraordinary. Yes, absolutely. By the time it gets good enough when they say, I mean, let's take a Boeing 747 airliner. Dozens of men sat around for decades designing this plane, the most efficient way to run this wire, to put the fuel tanks, and they sit there with a pen and paper, a blue sheet, and a white chalk, and they drew up this design. When AI is good enough to say, I want a plane more efficient than the Boeing 747 design we want, and it just comes up with blueprints, that's when it's going to be truly groundbreaking. But as of right now, I don't see any major breakthroughs in humanity that have made me more hopeful for the future of humanity, if that makes sense.
So your brother says that he's been enjoying boredom. He says that fun is haram and having less fun is more fun. So Android hasn't impacted as much, but how has getting off house arrest affected your day-to-day?
It made me furious. Off house arrest. Then when they expanded my territory so I can leave Bucharest and I could travel the whole country, everyone always asks me, oh, doesn't that feel good? No, it doesn't. Let's say I cut off both your arms and both your legs, and 3 months later I give you one of your legs back, and people start waving microphones in your face. Hey, aren't you happy to have a leg? You'd be like, well, no, because I've never done anything wrong, and you never should have cut off all my limbs in the first place. And then you've got a leg and an arm left. They reattach one somehow. Hey, aren't you happy? You got an arm again. You'd be like, this is fucking bullshit what you're doing to me. And this is wrong what you're doing to me. So no, I don't give a shit that you give me an arm back. Until this whole thing is dismissed. And more importantly, the people who perpetrated it have faced justice harsher than me, I will not be happy. So I don't feel good. You know, I left my house and everyone's waving microphones in my face. Aren't you happy that you can go to restaurants again? I should never have had my liberty deprived of me in any way, ever, because I've lived my whole life without committing any crimes, ever. So it doesn't fill me with joy, no. It's just another level of insult. And what's extra insulting about it is that they think that this is somehow a favor, or I should be happy about it. No, I'm not happy about any of it.
What do you miss most?
Not having to explain myself to people. I like not having to explain myself to people. I like waking up and thinking, you know what, I'm going to go to South Korea. Why? Who's going to ask me why? Nobody. I can just go. Now when I need to go to various places, it's, oh, hi, police officer. Can I please not sign on this piece of paper on this day so I can please go to this town? It's like, why am I explaining myself to these people? That's the upsetting part about it. So I miss most having agency over my own life, and I should have agency over my own life, but I don't. And I think that's what I'm going to enjoy getting back, even though I should never have lost it in the first place. The sense of just being able to do whatever I like, because that's how a man in my position, having never committed a crime, should be living. That's what I'm going to be happy when I do get it back. But then my quest for justice starts. If they throw the case out, or if I'm found not guilty, that's not justice. Justice is when everybody else pays for what they did. That's when I get justice. And that may take me 1 year, it may take me 20, but I'm very petty and I've got a lot of time, so everyone is going to face justice.
So regarding the current legal case, a Florida judge ruled that 2 of the victims in your case were lying about the allegations.
Yeah.
I saw on one of your shows that you can, for some reason, speak about some things that Andrew can't. Why is that? Like,
the charges against me and Andrew, it's the same case, but the charges against me and Andrew are different. And yeah, it's not even very exciting for me. The fact that, and we will talk about the legal case, I've shared it a million times. The mainstream media have never picked up on it. But when the police took the phones of my 2 false accusers, they found messages in their phones. Yeah, we're going to lie to the police. Oh, let's wear sunglasses and pretend we're crying so we look more victimized. We're going to win Oscars for our lies to the Romanian authorities. We're going to get our own Netflix series after this. That was found on day 1. I'm in jail and they already know this. Like, it was already established. And every judge I've seen, I'm like, why don't you just read their confession and let me go? So the fact that now the Florida judge is saying, looks like these girls were lying, I'm like, well, that's what I've been saying for 2 years, So everything's moving very slowly, but it is moving in the right direction. And that's ironclad proof taken off their phones, which is in the Romanian investigation files. They didn't include it in the indictment. Yeah. Indictments are made to make you look guilty. So, oh yeah, he definitely human trafficked these girls. All these theories about why I do it is all in the indictment. Andrew's things he said online, all in the indictment. Their confessions for lying somehow didn't make it in there, which is crazy. So Romania can play whatever games it likes. That's my point about finding real justice. I have American lawyers who will find these false accusers, first of all, civilly liable. And then once they're proved civilly liable, hopefully I can find them criminally liable for doing this and have them serve some jail time. That would be very nice, because I think false accusations are really cruel in the way that I may not give a shit because I'm built different and I'm rich and I can handle jail. But there are a lot of men put through the same accusations I would have been put through, having to deal with what I went through, who would have killed themselves, whose families would have fallen apart, whose businesses would have fallen